All right, I'm here at the AM 1300 studios. Paul Vandenberg has been a household name for like 30 years. I brought my own camera setup today so that you can enjoy this on social media, since probably a lot of you don't even know what radio is. Radio remains the medium nearest and dearest to my heart. So let's get cooking.
It's a rough and twisted road in the city of Albany, especially if you're encountering potholes. A lot of them have been reopening for some reason. I don't know why, but a couple on my street have reopened, much to my dismay. And even though the mayor filled, 800 or 8,000 or something like that. It was quite a lot of potholes that got filled up. I have this note from someone texted me about AI. They said, if you went back and fixed all the mistakes you ever made, you would erase yourself. So there you go. Okay, so just a quick recap. We talked about City of Albany, about Mayor Pleers. Can't seem to get a break with everything going on. She's taking the hits one after another. City of Albany is now looking for an auditor for the financial statements of the City of Albany. So have a text out to Sam Fine, but he hasn't looked at it yet. So he's the chief city auditor. So unfortunately, we don't have any comments from any city official on that. So now it's time for our mystery guest segment. So mystery guest, will you please introduce yourself?
My name is Jesse Summer, but it's more likely you've encountered me on the realm of social media as the Sheriff of Lark Street.
And on social media, it says that's a parody account. Is that did you put that there, or did they label it such?
I label it as parody. Anyone who, whether it's a formal government or whether it's the cosplay shadow government that I delve into, it's all parody and satire.
So you're very outspoken on things going on in the city of Albany. You produced a lot of videos. We have crime. We have Mayor Pleers has appeared with you on some of your feeds.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone's on the same team when it comes to trying to make Albany better. My frustration is the fact that I think in the vast majority of the situations I encounter, the team that's trying to improve Albany is not doing so in certainly the way that I believe is the right priority set. Sir, you mentioned potholes. I think that is a step in the right direction of showing government performatively addressing a situation, but potholes are way downstream of the principal issues afflicting my city and the place in which I'm conducting business, and that's the aggressive panhandling, the homeless situation, a lot of the mental health and drug addiction that you see on the street level. And that's where I'm focused. And the reason that my account has generated so much, let's just call it enthusiasm, is in part because everyone knows that the funding priorities in the city, as subsidized by the state, are totally misallocated. We shouldn't be, for example, talking about a $150 million renovation of the New York State Museum when so much of what exists on the street level, the open and notorious drug use, the open and notorious public defecation, is going to drive people away from ever experiencing some of what ultimately someday might be the renovations of that museum.
So people who are observing what you're posting on social media, folks who are looking at saying, yeah, he's right, and are encountering these things on an almost daily basis. For example, panhandlers. I've noticed a trend where now they're appearing up on New Scotland Avenue, up as far as I would say the Trustco Bank on the corner of New Scotland and Ontario. When you go past that, you'll find the panhandlers here and there. Some are very soft-spoken, others are quite demanding. What do you, the ordinary guy or gal, what do you do? How do you approach this problem? You're saying, okay, yeah, the Sheriff of Wall Street, he was talking about or Lark Street, not Wall Street, but what do they do? Do they tell the shop owner, and then the shop owner tells them to run away, or do they call the police?
I can tell you this, it's not easy. right? There's not a silver bullet. The first thing that has to happen, though, is we need to end the gaslighting. The mayor has said that our objective is to turn the lights back on in Albany. And as I've said before, because I think I'm clever, it sometimes feels like they're turning the gaslights on back in Albany. My problem is that the focus needs to be shifted in the rhetoric that we utilize. Remember, when it comes to the condition of homelessness, there but for the grace of God go I. All right? Everyone is in a very precarious situation. There are a few tragedies in their personal life or in their professional life away from very possibly being in that situation. And we're seeing the numbers expand. That's why I don't understand why we ever had a conversation, for example, about the construction of a downtown soccer stadium. Why it is that we're talking about the investment of $200 million of state taxpayer money in revitalizing downtown Albany when it's not a mystery what's needed. There are 873 vacant buildings, those buildings with the red X's on it. And that's not the sum total of all vacant buildings. Those are resources that need to be returned to the tax rolls to make, for example, the issuance of deeds, home ownership available to people in Albany who are otherwise at the whims of absentee landlords. I, interestingly enough, have gotten this reputation as being bombastic, being loud, being aggressive. Those are the tactics that I'm utilizing to rage bait people to push my message out, which is that I don't want to see a wealth transfer from the people of Albany to a bunch of developers so they can create new glass-paneled monuments blighting our skyline when at the Delaware Avenue, New Scotland Avenue, Henry Johnson Boulevard, all of those avenues of approach look like you're walking through dystopia in order to be able to enjoy my tasting room, my business, in order for me as a resident of Lark Street, a homeowner on Lark Street, to be able to enjoy my front yard. Mental illness, drug addiction, these are real problems and they need to be treated systemically with proper financing, with the proper seriousness of purpose, and most importantly, dispensing with those who would enable that. The number of people who will say, why are you picking on homeless people? They have a right to be here. That's not the conversation that I want to have. That's not the real conversation at all. Everyone can sit on their left-wing progressive bona fides all they want. What is it that you're doing when you're talking about esteeming those who are quote unquote unhoused? That's the proper term these days, I understand.
It is.
I'm not trying to eliminate their dignity. I'm trying to eliminate their homelessness. And so I don't want to have conversations about all of these new ribbon-cutting worthy projects when we're still dealing with the type of mental illness, drug addiction, and unhousedness that's driving people away from the city of Albany.
So why are we stuck with all this? I mean, here, you're beating the drum, but there are others who have come before you they've been beating the same drum.
No, totally different. Let me be really clear. A lot of people are beating the drum of ideology, of vocabulary. Dave, I literally just had to give you the caveat that I was going to use the word unhoused instead of homeless. That's where the debate has been. I don't want to have the debate over rhetoric. I want to have the debate over results. I don't want to talk about yet another facility that's got 300 beds in it in a neighborhood where no one wants it, when we could be talking about the dispersed allocation of resources in some of those retrofitted vacant buildings where we have clinicians on site to assist people. What's not going to work? Street level treatment. The clinicians that evidently, that rapid response team are going to meet someone on the street as though they can dispense medication there. That's not going to work. And it doesn't work. And you see my videos depicting it on Lark Street all the time.
Okay, now Mayor Pleers has appeared with you in a couple of your videos.
Sure.
You've encountered her. I'm sure you probably had conversations with her. Where is she on all this? And are her hands tied by politics or red tape?
I presume so. I mean, I need to be clear that I have given Mayor Pleers distance and space because I want her to have the best possible chance of success. And I understand that the way that I conduct myself online probably makes public appearances with me a little politically fraught for her. So I've spoken with members of her administration, and here's the weird thing. We're all in alignment here. Everyone knows there are issues. I think the number one challenge that we have is getting people to be honest about the solution. It is not honest to talk about the removal of 787 as though that's the silver bullet that's going to help Albany. When I see, for example, Senator Fahey at a No Kings rally or a Good Trouble rally talking about federal issues, opining about Iran, for example, on social media, my attitude is, why aren't you on Lark Street? Why aren't you on Clinton Avenue? We don't need more talking heads to discuss the nuances of Israeli military policy as is applied in the nation of Iran. I don't need to hear your thoughts on the release of the Epstein files. What I need to see is a mobilized municipal management team that says it's not just about the potholes, it's about the systemic issues that need to be addressed. To put it another way, why is it that we still always have to hear about the latest forays in development of our dashing superhero, Jeff Buell? Why? Why are we hearing about that as opposed to the fact that Albany has the second widest disparity between black and white home ownership in the nation, second only to Minneapolis? These aren't cities in the South, the historic racist part of the country. This is Albany. The segregation here embarrasses me. And these are choices. These are policies. These are policy choices. And so, yes, I use satire, so to speak, and my social media to be aggressive, antagonistic, because that's how you get the word out. And to the extent that people don't listen to the substance of my message and they want to hate on me for the fact that I'm out there, on a corner in the midst of my diatribes, so be it, because they're going to share my message and they're going to put their editorializing on it. Look at this jerk. And the reality is that when people hear it, they're confronted with common sense, and that's why this message is getting out.
We're talking with the very aggressive Sheriff of Lark Street this morning, 518-476-1300. If you would like to put your 2 cents in. We do have to take a quick break. So it's about 11:19. Dave Lucas here with you on Talk 1300 AM 98.7 FM, 518-476-1300. And we're back, 518-476-1300. We are talking about Albany with the Sheriff of Lark Street. And he's been appointed to, Sheriff, you've been appointed to Mayor Dorsey Aplear's Nightlife Advisory Council. Tell us about that.
Well, you picked the right verb. One of the things I should point out is that I did not apply to this. This was something where, somewhat maybe against my better judgment at the time, I was appointed to this Nightlife Advisory Council that I understand was among the earliest executive acts of the new mayoral administration. And they wanted me to be on there. I perceive the desire by City Hall to have me serve on this Nightlife Advisory Council was, I hope, to be an antidote to some of the ideas that I think are just completely ill-advised. One of those ideas, for example, might be that we need to have nightlife extend later into the wee hours of the morning. I happen to agree with that, but I think that is almost so far down the list of priorities that it's barely visible from my standpoint. Here's one thing. In the city of Albany, I don't care what the Oracle of Menands says when Chris Churchill is writing about how much parking Albany has. It does not have parking in the areas where we want people to frequent. When I was growing up and I lived in New Scotland, Albany was this magic place. We came down here at the end of, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Albany was where we went. And at this point, the city of Albany has become so hostile to out-of-towners that they're going to go to any other option that has now sprung up and established itself as a really good time. That could be Troy, Saratoga, Schenectady, or even Guilderland, Latham, Colony. If you want to go to the city of Albany and you're coming from the hill towns, or you're coming from, North Country, if you're coming from, out in Montgomery County or Rensselaer County, well, unfortunately, you have to brave the the complex of the speed cameras, which are giving you tickets at 31 miles per hour in the city of Albany, over a mile-long area in front of a school, because we're trying to save the children. I'm all about saving the children, but I'm about doing it with traffic reduction measures or traffic slowing measures, not the wealth transfer from people trying to patron Albany to some company that's just sitting on its ass, not doing anything. Remember, one of the reasons that we're in this fiscal crisis in the city of Albany, why we're looking at budget shortfalls, is because we collected less speeding ticket revenue from the cameras than was projected. Okay, well, you've just given up the game. This wasn't about slowing traffic so much as it was getting more money into the city coffers. That decision point is keeping people away. Because if you happen to be one of those individuals who drives into the city of Albany and you don't get a speeding ticket, you might get a parking ticket if you're lucky enough to find a place in which to park, which I'm telling you does not exist and dissuades people from coming there. I see it all the time. We get instant messages on our social media platforms from people who say, would have loved to be there. We looked for parking for 20 minutes, turned around. Now, there will be people who say there's tons of parking in Albany. Half of Albany is a parking lot. Sure, under 787. But that's not how it works. When you don't have money to spend $40 on an Uber, okay? When you don't have that money, coming out to the city of Albany is an investment. And between the panhandling that you have to encounter, the parking situation, right? The scarcity of places to ditch your car, the traffic tickets. We've basically said, don't come to Albany in favor of the shrieking voices that insist on a walkable city. I'm sorry, we don't have the infrastructure for a walkable city now. Only those people with enough money to sit in their little enclaves and who can enjoy walking around Buckingham Lake, Buckingham Pond with their little chihuahua. Those are the people who get to enjoy a walkable city. Everyone else needs some sort of transport. And what we've done is basically say, if you don't live in the city of Albany, we don't want you here. And I, as a business owner, watch it. Because remember, my business, I own a whiskey company, New Scotland Spirits. We distribute our products to all the 11 counties of the Capital District. Only in Albany is the retail experience so hostile. I get to see it everywhere else. But Albany basically says, you know what? It's a privilege to come to Albany. And frankly, it's not. And on the Nightlife Advisory Council, I say, if you were trying to tell me how to operate my bar, right, our tasting room, I don't need your advice on the manner by which I provide entertainment. What I need you to do is focus on what dissuades people from coming and enjoying the nightlife in the first place. Like, for example, the unrepentant teen violence. The fact that our perpetrators of gun violence and our victims of gun violence are almost uniformly adolescent and adolescent male. And if you want to take a step further, adolescent black male. That's a problem, right? Someone who looks like me, statistically, I haven't anything to worry about, but there is a demographic in the city of Albany that is under siege. And look, what do you expect when you're down almost 80 people in the police department? Well, of course, you don't get to have the visible presence showing that laws will be enforced. And we're seeing it in the numbers. So they could say, well, gun violence is down. Not according to the media, not according to the experience of those who read about Albany and say, I don't need it because I can hang out in Bethlehem.
Mm-hmm. I did see the other day someone posted, I don't remember if it was on Facebook, if it was on your site, or it might have been on Reddit, that they had come to Albany to take some photos of the tulips, and they parked in Washington Park. When they got back to their car, they had a ticket.
What are we doing? What are we doing, Dave? That's my point. What are we doing? What a short-sighted, limited approach to a cash grab. You want people to come to Washington Park. Similarly, I showed that, and this is great, when humanity decides that we're just going to dispense with following laws and they park on both sides of Lark Street, and guess what? The sky didn't fall. The parking is there. Instead of us insisting that we need to have this walkable utopia, let's look at traffic patterns, traffic situations. Let's look at the rhythm, because I guarantee you, Dave, you will be able to find places for people to park when they come from out of town.
Well, this wonderful walkable city that we live in needs some fixing, I guess. We are out of time for this segment. if you would like to call in, 518-476-1300. Dave Lucas and the Sheriff of Lark Street will be back after the news at 11:30. Holy smokes, it's 11:34 already. This day has gone by, this morning has gone by very quickly. In the studio with us this morning is the Sheriff of Lark Street, Jesse Summer.
It makes me laugh every time.
So, do your fellow retailers on Lark Street, what's their opinion of you? Are they looking to you as a champion superhero or what?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I can give you the places that don't. There are, for whatever reasons, they don't necessarily maybe appreciate my approach to getting my product behind their bars. You won't find me at Savoy. You won't find me at O Bar. But with limited exceptions, I have the business community who will routinely thank me either on the street, when I'm in their shops, or in instant message, right? The direct messages we receive on social media, who not only thank me, they provide me with the tips of issues they want me to cover. Now, you have to understand that a lot of them do it anonymously, because my business model is based on rage bait. My business model requires the notoriety of antagonizing people to get my message out. That doesn't work for everyone on Lark Street. And so they have to be a little quieter about it, but they've used me as their avatar for getting a word out or getting attention when there's attention needed. A great example would be that several times there have been trash piles or abandoned bicycles that have been locked to some of those, what do they call them? The bike racks. Mm-hmm. And when the city doesn't respond, they'll call me. And one of the things that I do, the way I monetize my content, is I just clean it myself. I get my team, my employees at New Scotland Spirits will grab a U-Haul and we'll go pick up the garbage. Or we'll get the bandsaw and we'll cut free.
So you're a hands-on activist.
Hands-on activist, and even more to the point, I'm theatrical. Because my whole approach is, if you, the proper authorities, don't do it, I'm going to do it, which is why you see me bagging up mattresses and getting them ready to be disposed of when they're abandoned on Lark Street. But interestingly, and to the credit of the Clears administration, oftentimes I'll give them a heads up. I'll say, if this isn't picked up in 2 weeks, I'm going to do it the day after that deadline. And within 24 hours, multiple times at this point, they're watching. And DGS, or the Office of Neighborhood Services, they'll be out there ameliorating the blight. So I have to say that to the extent that the Clears administration is monitoring and even driven by social media, it has been, for me, cathartic to see the way the government postures to respond to these issues. I just wish there was a more holistic approach to doing it.
So they're keeping an eye and ear on you, huh?
I mean, can you avoid that?
Probably not. 518-476-1300 if you have an Albany issue or a comment or anything you might like to share with the Sheriff of Lark Street. Now, we were talking off the air. Mm-hmm. I swear this phone listens to everything I say. Out of the blue, Google AI just popped this up. The Sheriff of Lark Street is the moniker of Jesse Summer, a local civic commentator and frequent political candidate in Albany, New York. It says here, Summer ran for Albany Common Council president. So tell us about that. What prompted you to do that, and how did that all work out?
I obviously didn't win.
No, I did not win. What I do understand, though, is that I got more write-in votes than any other write-in candidate in the city's history. And I encourage someone to check me out and determine if that is in fact the case. Even if it's not, because I'm not going to be spot checked right here, I'm going to go with that. So I am the recipient of the most votes in any write-in capacity as a party unaffiliated candidate in the city of Albany. Now I ran for a few reasons. One, I have an insatiable need for attention. Two, I wanted to indict the process. I don't care what your politics are. Anyone who thinks that it is good that we have a single party that has been in control of the city of Albany for over 100 years, what you're talking about is, look, that's when you get criminal syndicates. That's when you get an institution that is so powerful it needn't be responsive to the needs of the people. So what I did was weaponize social media, and I grabbed my little podium and I went and stood on the corners of streets like I was mentally ill myself, and I just started talking truth to power, as they say, and putting that on social media where it resonated. And look, it is performative, right? Again, at this point, what's more powerful? What is a more influential title? Mayor or Sheriff of Lark Street? I don't know.
That's one of Kathy Sheehan's favorite terms, truth to power.
Well, I use that because it's a term that's been co-opted. Don't be in the position of power spitting the phrase truth to power. What are you doing on the ground level? Right? And, I want to say, because I haven't, unfortunately, been a sufficiently gracious guest as to say how much I appreciate you making space for me today. And Dave, I do. I mean, thank you for bringing me into the hallowed grounds of Talk 1300. I appreciate this opportunity, but this opportunity, the discussion, you don't get that in modern politics, right? The debate has been so narrowed, and the constituencies have flung to either sides of their spectrum. The reality is, it has nothing to do with your party label. Everyone has little smorgasbord issues that come from both sides of that political spectrum. For me, it's not left and right. It's top versus bottom. And right now, the people on the top don't know how to run the city. And so because I have figured out a way to use my platform to benefit my business, but also to expand a message, I'm basically saying that, hey, while I can articulate these issues, I'm going to do it in every forum that's made available to me. One of those is running for office. So even though I ran as a party unaffiliated write-in candidate for an office about which nobody knows, the presidency of the Common Council, that was enough of a pretense for me to get the vote out, to get the message out, that even our local state representative delegation had to come out and endorse the only other candidate, who of course was a shoo-in. And by the way, Kelly Kimbrough, who's the current president of the Common Council, was such a great sport. I have nothing but positive things to say. I was yapping at him, I was taking shots, and he was always a gentleman about it. And I think that's the whole point here. The issue is not about the horse race. The issue isn't about the flash and pomp and circumstance of politics. The issue is, what's the message? And what are we going to do to resolve the issues?
So with all the razzmatazz from your social media and everything else, what can you point to right now as things you've accomplished that are actually helping to make Albany better?
Nothing. That's the important thing for people to know, that I cannot take credit for anything tangible. And that's not my job. That's the important piece. I can raise issues, I can raise awareness about those issues, and I can demand that those issues be resolved. But I don't have my hands on the levers of government. That's what I'm trusting the Appears administration to do, to get us more cops, to get us more parking, to deal with the panhandling, to turn those lights back on in an actual, tangible, practicable way. Ultimately, what I'm doing is just getting clicks online.
Why hasn't most of this been done already? I mean, before the Appears administration came in, people were talking about the problems with the unhoused, with the drug addicts. I remember Andrew Joyce had a press conference on Central Avenue where you could see the needles lying in the street. The panhandlers, we've been aware of all this, but it doesn't seem like anything ever gets done or gets solved.
Charisma, Dave. Charisma. We don't have leaders. Think about the people who we look to as the heads of our various political parties, our movements. Barack Obama, Donald Trump. These were charismatic people who were able to assemble a constituency. I may not, right? I can be pretty antagonistic, irritating. Most people look at me and like, no, I'd rather not hang out with that dude. However, there's nothing that you can, let's be clear about the manner in which I speak. I'm charismatic, I'm forceful. We need someone who sounds like me in government. We don't need people who are shying away from the limelight, who are being reactive and responsive to the needs of the community. We need people who are out there leading. The one thing that you can say about Mayor Appears as a person is that she's well liked. Her people like her. She's out there, she has fun, she gets on the dance floor. Credit to her. We need more people that others are going to listen to because you can't tune them out. The fact that this brand, the Sheriff of Lark Street, has become a flag in the sand around which people are rallying is simply because I'm presenting a vision. I don't have the time. I don't have the skill set. I don't necessarily have the emotional maturity to be a real community leader, but I'm waiting for someone to look, sound, behave like me, who's actually understanding what they can do with those levers of government. Because let's be clear, we had it. You might not like Dan O'Connell. You may have your issues with Erastus Corning. But there was a time when Albany was the center of the universe for a lot of New York State. And it was when we had people who knew how to talk to people, knew how to marshal forces, mobilize the constituency. And look at what they did. Love it or hate it, the Empire Plaza stands as a testament to that ability to move people in a direction. And we don't have it now. And you're seeing the result.
We have people who are looking at your stuff on social media. We have people listening now who they're not going to call in at 518-476-1300, but they're thinking, yeah, this guy is great, But they themselves don't know exactly what to do or how to do it, how do they help to tackle these problems? They come out, they see a panhandler on the street on New Scotland Avenue, so they avoid going into that business because they don't want to be hassled. But where does it go from there? How do they get their message to the powers that be to make change?
Great question, and let me answer that by saying this. You don't see 90% of what the Sheriff of Lark Street is about. You see the stuff that I put online that's designed to get a reaction. But what you don't see is that behind the scenes, the part that's not going to get the rage baiting clicks, I'm picking up garbage. I'm talking to people. I'm assisting people. I'm an attorney. I'm a public defender. I don't bill people. But when people come to me with issues, I'm helping them. I am constantly applying my skill sets, the limited ones that I might have, in the service of my neighborhood. If you're looking for something to do, the answer is just do it. When you don't have people who are engaged civically, you have a lot of people in the comment threads who have shit to say. Am I allowed to say that on AM 1300? Yeah, then I'll say, are you able to dump that? Love this guy. You have a lot of people in Albany who have stuff to say. I'll remove the expletive. That one can go out over the air. And those people are on the comment threads, not on the street, picking things up. What can I say? Look, I make content. And don't get me wrong, I spend a good amount of time responding to trolls on the internet and the comment threads because, look, again, I ever since I got out of the Army, I've needed an adrenaline rush. And the only adrenaline rush you're allowed to have these days is the ones where you leverage your tongue and your wit. So that's why I go hard in the paint on those comment threads. But if you're out there just commenting on my content, it means you're not making your own content. It means you're not doing what's needed to be an engaged civic member of the community. So there's not, again, a roadmap for how to fix things. What we have to do is show the people we've elected to represent us that we're engaged and have those conversations openly. The number of people who come to me and say, we love what you're saying, we can't say it. We can't say it because we would, lose friends or we would get in trouble or whatnot. Well, then you got to look inside yourself and evaluate that. I have this whole contingent. I mean, if you look at some of the content relating to, for example, the unhoused or mentally ill population on Lark Street, some people don't like the fact that I will show a psychiatric break, a schizophrenic episode on my social media. But if you actually look at it, then very next day, you'll see me when that individual is medicated. I know these people. I know their names. The celebrities who have emerged on my page, Ricky, Bianca, Dave, Adam, Alan. I know these people. I know their stories because I talk to them and I try to figure out what's going to be necessary, needed for them. Dave is addicted to crack.
You find now when people see you on the street, they recognize you or they come up to you or they know you now?
All the the time. Among the socioeconomically possessed areas of the city, you'll have people who will just shout expletives at me out their window because they're the elites. They're the people who are living in the basement apartments subsidized by their parents. They're the ones whose brains were turned into warm tapioca in college. But when you leave those areas, the salt of the earth people, the people in need of help, they call me the Sheriff of Lark Street. And those individuals are the ones that I see as the people needing my assistance, and that's why I'm not going to shut up.
We are talking with Jesse Summer, the Sheriff of Lark Street, and we interrupt the program to bring you an important note from Sam Fine, who answered the text. I texted him earlier asking him if it was true. Is the city of Albany looking for an auditor to look at city finances? And he did respond. He said, yes, it's the external financial audit that is required by the state. We do it every year, but we just put out an RFP for it. I'm happy to discuss with you. So now we know what that audit RFP is all about, and it is 11:49. 518-476-1300. You've still got a few minutes if you have an Albany comment or question and you'd like to discuss that or place it before the Sheriff of Lark Street, Jesse Summer. We'll be right back. And we're back with you in the waning moments of our Dave Lucas Pop-Up Talk radio show for Sunday, May 17th. Our in-studio guest is the Sheriff of Lark Street, Jesse Summer. Jesse, do you have any deputies?
It's so funny you say that. We've just started deputizing people.
You have started deputizing.
Cults emerge out of thin air, and we've definitely gotten one at this point.
So what does City Hall have to say about that, or they have no comment?
I mean, as I say, I run a cosplay shadow government. So at this point, it's two poles of power existing right next to each other. One that was formally voted in, the other that exists based on your likes, shares. Follow me at Sheriff of Lark Street or at New Scotland Spirits.
But it seems like we're all getting along, I guess.
You have to. I mean, remember, we're all Albanites. We're all the same people. So you can't attack your neighbor without expecting there to be blowback on your own side of the street. So whether you like it or hate it, we all have to be advisors for the Pleers administration.
Are people surprised by some of the things that you put forth on social media?
Yeah, I mean, I think people who encounter me say, wow, he's actually, there's a lot of common sense here. He's articulate. He understands the issues because he clearly researches them. And then for everyone who doesn't follow me, but only believes what they read on Reddit, they're like, oh, he's obnoxious, entitled white male and guilty on all counts.
What would you say is your most shining moment on social media that you're most proud of, or political, statement or event or something that happened that you really pat yourself on the back for?
I mean, the fact that I'm able to call press conferences and the local media will show up, that's remarkable. And it shows that there's a thirst for entertainment. Remember, if you want to get your message out, you got to do it in a way that's going to keep people's eyeballs there. I have a slogan that has undergirded my campaign, but also my mission, which is ending poverty is good for business. And the way I've gotten that message out is by taking a lectern, a portable lectern, tossing my company logo on it, so that I'm always advertising New Scotland Spirits, and then bringing it to different areas around the city where I will then just pontificate for 15 minutes straight and then rely any number of the, Gen Z intelligentsia who know how to use all the different mobile devices to create really good content, right? Take what I do and turn it into compelling reels, posts, stories on the social media platforms to reach people where they are. And the proof is in the pudding. Should I be as aroused erotically when people come up to me and ask for signatures? Probably not. Am I? Definitely.
So a pop-up celebrity of sorts. So again, where on social media can people find you?
First of all, I take issue with pop-up celebrity of sorts, Dave. I am just a celebrity. I don't know what this guy's trying to pull over here. You can find me on at Sheriff of Lark Street or at New Scotland Spirits. Those worlds exist together. So New Scotland Spirits is my company. I started it while I was in the Army, in part to support the agrarian traditions of my hometown. And the Sheriff of Lark Street is the moniker, the character that I now personify, because as goes the city of Albany, so goes the county of Albany, so goes the capital district, and ergo, so goes my business.
Okay. So for folks who want to catch up, that's how you do it. Any parting words for for people who are listening who are now they're thinking, wow, maybe we somehow can make Albany a better place. What is their fabric of hope to cling to?
That's
I've stumped the sheriff, everybody.
yeah, I think there are wiser minds out there. Here's what I can say. If you have the answer as to what we can do to improve Albany, I've created the forum for you to express it. So come to my pages, right? Talk to me about it. Let me take your message, as I often do from the people from whom I crowdsource the intellect that I otherwise lack. And I push that out. And if you come to my page and you agree with this mission of improving our hometown, we're going to have a great discussion. If you come to my page and you disagree with that mission, then I'm going to talk very colorfully about how I'm going to seduce your sister.
How about the Common Council? Do you interact with them, and if so, what do they think?
The Sheriff of Lark Street.
It depends. There's a couple people who love it. In fact, will feed me information, and it somewhat informs my antics. There are others who are deeply skeptical about it. And listen, for a lot of people who are in government, these are the people that probably on some level were interested in student government 30 years ago. And you have to understand that someone like me coming along, playing the class clown, speaking loudly, sucking up all the oxygen, I think there are probably people in that Common Council that were like, we had to listen to a loud, brash white dude all through junior high and high school. And now here I am in real government and I'm still dealing with this guy weaponizing the 5-minute public comment period of the Common Council. I get it. If there are people who don't like my tactics, no hard feelings.
I think the most important thing is that you're bringing all of this to the attention of the greater public, and you're getting people to think.
That's what I hope. That's what I try. And I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to push the message.
Okay, thank you for being here. Jesse Summer, the Sheriff of Lark Street. Dave Lucas here with you. We'll see you next time on Talk 1300 AM and 98.7 FM.